Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well and welcome to my The Mandalorian Season 3 Episode 3 preview video. We're going to be talking about everything about this upcoming episode of The Mandalorian. When is it coming out, its release date, plot details, and the runtime of the episode. We're going to go ahead and hop right on into it. In this video, we're going to be taking a read from inverse.com. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. As they read, it turns out that the planet of Mandalore isn't toxic, and it's not as deserted as it once was thought. Given the colossal revolution at the end of last week's installment, Season 3, Episode 3 of The Mandalorian will likely dive deeper into what this might mean, not just for Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, but also for Mandalorian culture as a whole. Mando has now fulfilled his mission to bathe in the living waters and find his redemption in accordance with the Mandalorian Creed. Well, his Mandalorian Creed. However, in doing so, he and Bo-Katan also stumbled upon a major discovery on Mandalore, that there being the Mythosaur. Will this affect Din and Grogu at all, or will they simply get back into their typical space errands and journeys? With reportedly lengthier episodes on the way, the adventures of the two, Din and Grogu, are sure to get even more action-packed from here. Of course, the release time and date for the next episode of The Mandalorian is going to be, well, at the time of recording this video, tomorrow, Wednesday, March 15th. And of course, depending on your time zone, The Mandalorian will land at midnight Pacific time, or 3 in the morning Eastern time, and I know I'll be there at 3 a.m. As we discussed in a separate video here on the channel, for what we know is that the runtime for the next episode of The Mandalorian is going to be a whopping 56 minutes and 11 seconds long. This would make, if this rumor holds true, to be the longest episode of all of the Mandalorian episodes out of Season 3, Season 2, and Season 1. However, that doesn't necessarily acquire for the Book of Boba Fett, although that still does partake in the Mandoverse. This here all being said, what can we expect into the regards of plot details for The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 3? Not much is known about the exact plot of Season 3, Episode 3 of The Mandalorian, but the discovery of what is likely, of course, the Mythosaur in the last moments of Episode 2 spells out drama for both Din and Bo-Katan, and Grogu, of course. Now with their home planet of Mandalore decimated, though more intact than Din originally thought, and as Bo-Katan had overly drawn out and exaggerated, honestly, and no leader to unite them really all that much exactly, despite Din Djarin having the Darksaber, Mandalorian warriors are scattered across the galaxy in different factions, different creeds. Now, telling from what we've seen in all the marketing and promoting and everything for Season 3 of The Mandalorian, we know that at some point a bunch of them will reunite. We see multiple Mandalorians in the trailer. With the Darksaber in hand, the Mandalorian Din Djarin is destined to be the one that rebuilds the Mandalore and be their leader. Episode 3 will likely set up where the rest of the season is going to lead, as I had discussed in our breakdown and reaction video of just how dang surprised I was that we see all the marketing and all the promoting and everything in the trailers for the third season of The Mandalorian, as I have already discussed, kind of pointing towards the big journey of this season is about Din Djarin traveling to Mandalore, scouting it out and seeing it and adventuring around with it, finding his way to the mines and the waters to bathe in them, to redeem himself to his creed and his oath, and for that to happen all within the second episode of The Mandalorian, it's kind of like, where are we going now? What are we going to see next? And for me, that creates a lot of suspense and a lot of excitement, honestly, at that there, of course, for where we're going to see this show go next here. What is like the next big plot point, I think, really, and I think that does lie within the Darksaber. I think seeing that, you know, Bo-Katan and Din are more confident in Mandalore, and that it's like, hey, this is actually sustainable, like we can breathe here, we can live here, actually, let's rebuild this. I think that gives Bo-Katan a lot of courage and will to want to try to challenge Din in the Darksaber. Of course, it would be a very unfair fight, seeing that we saw her use the Darksaber in The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 2, in the previous episode there, of course, and she's a total badass with it, of course, for the pure reason that she grew up with the Darksaber, kind of being in the royal family. We've seen her use it multiple times throughout the Clone Wars animated show, also in the Rebels animated show, not to mention that she's had it for the last close to 5 to 10 years from the original trilogy there. I'd also like to quickly discuss and talk about the Mythosaur. What does that mean for the future of the Mandalorian? How does that impact Mandalore, you know, culture culture, and why is it important, really. Now, what we've heard about in the Book of Boba Fett in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, and now in The Mandalorian Season 3, and have even actually seen that the mythosaur is not a myth, it is real. I wonder if its name will change, is that this changes the game for Bo-Katan especially. I'm going to go ahead and assume that Din was out cold when he, sunk to the bottom of the waters there in the mines. And even if he was awake, I don't think he really would be able to make out the mythosaur, like, that's the mythosaur, that is the thing, it is right there type of thing. I think that Bo-Katan is really the only one that knows about the mythosaur, for one thing, really being an actual thing. The mythosaur is important, though, because if you're able to tame it and ride it, then you kind of are the Mandalore. You win the Darksaber. Like, it's kind of like a forfeit, essentially, in a way, and that kind of goes for Mandalore culture. This here would bring all the Mandalorians together back into one creed. Of course, what we've been seeing for, like, the eternity of Star Wars lore and canon and everything like this, ever since the Clone Wars animated show, is that there's, like, always some type of Mandalorian conflict. There's always some type of Mandalorian civil war. Somebody's always mad at somebody, and so riding the mythosaur would bring all of these Mandalorian creeds back together. Whether or not it would be Bo-Katan or if it would be Din, I think it would be a lot easier for Din to get his hands dirty and be the one to ride the mythosaur, especially with the help of Grogu being able to, like, chill these kind of animals out, as we saw in the Book of Boba Fett. I'm doing that with the Rancor. I think would be really, really interesting. Although, to be completely transparent and fair with you guys, I'm really hoping that Bo-Katan is the one that does this. Now, aside from all that, that's something I'd like to discuss and dive deeper on into in a separate video here on the channel, so stay tuned for that. The article continues by saying that what happened in the previous episode of The Mandalorian Season 3 in Episode 2, as a little bit of a recap. After a detour to Tatooine at the beginning of the episode, where Pelimoto sticks Mando with a half-broken droid, that there being the beloved R4, Din and Grogu arrive on Mandalore and quickly discover that the planet isn't as poisoned as everyone had thought it would be. Unfortunately, that also means it's crawling with different enemies and creatures that we saw in that episode, including a group of alien monsters called the Alamites, which is kind of like trolls of Mandalore, is what they really remind me of. We also see a creepy alien that ambushes Mando using a giant crab mech suit that also captures him, being a very hefty part of the episode overall. Grogu manages to escape and head back to nearby of where Bo-Katan is at her planet for help. Sensing that something is wrong, she agrees. Grogu leads the way, and they arrive just in time to save Din Djarin's life. Bo-Katan slays the alien using the Darksaber. Does that mean it belongs to her now, is the potential question I think that's kind of thrown out there, and then leads Mando to the ancient mines where he hopes to find redemption in those mines waters. And of course, as we saw at the Living Waters, Bo-Katan reads a plaque and reminisces about her childhood as a Mandalorian royalty. Meanwhile, Mando steps into the Living Waters to purify himself and sinks to the bottom like a stone. Bo-Katan dives in to save him, and on the way back up, they see the eye of a giant aquatic creature, that there being the mythosaur, which was long thought to be extinct, and hence its name, Myth. So from there, that concludes not only the article, but also our recap of the previous episode of The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 2. I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. We discussed quite a bit throughout this video here. I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. What are you looking forward to seeing most in the next episode of The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 3? In the comment section down below. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one, guys. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.